Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Testing. Okay. Um. Oh, yeah, Ella, do you have the link so that you can see comments also? That's
I'm going to head to it now.
okay. Perfect. Okay, but you gotta mute it because I can hear you talking.
Both of us. Where's the link? Hold on.
Oh, it's me. Okay, everyone got a little preview of us talking to ourselves there. Great. Look, live streams aren't a perfect science.
No, exactly.
um, and we said I read the whole book this week so I could catch up to y'all and join today. And that's incredible, great work. It's not a short book, honestly.
It really isn't. I mean, that's why there are 3 books within the book, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's hefty.
It's hefty. That's exactly the right word. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
this is the first, and I guess we'll get into it in a second. But I will say this third book, I listened to entirely on the audiobook. Like the other ones, I've been switching back and forth, but this one
Oh,
I had a
yeah.
lot of driving to do, so I just listened the whole third part. So I think my thoughts won't be as like normally when I'm like reading it, sometimes I'll like jot something down. But because I just had to be like, okay, I hope I remember to talk about that. We'll see if I remember as much. But um
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the audio book situation. Like,
mm-hmm.
that's how I've listened to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, because there's one on YouTube I just love. Like the guy does all the voices. He really commits. It's quite Shakespearean. So I'm
Totally.
really into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Well, because there's a bunch out there, and like I said, I've gone through I went through several different ones until I found one that I liked. Also, because um, yeah, like Emily said, I listened to an adorable audiobook recorded by the BBC in 1997. It has voice actors and everything, and I think
I
I
love that.
started that one, and it was like too overwhelming for me.
Oh, do you not love a rich voice
I
cast?
do,
Do
but
you
that one in
prefer like one
particular, I
narrate?
was like, it was like whiplash. I was
Okay,
not ready for it. I think
fair enough.
I could have done it now, but when I was just like folding my laundry and stuff, I was like, "Whoa, they're doing the voices." So,
Yeah.
um,
Very fair. Um, I I mean, it's over, you
I
know?
know. Yeah, what's your okay?
Um,
Do you want to start big? Like, do you want to talk about your overall feelings?
yeah, my overall feelings are so it's funny. Me and Michael were watching a video essay this week about
Mm-hmm.
like it was kind of a sweeping look at fantasy and the way that the fantasy genre has changed.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't agree with like all the points this video essay made about the things that this person feels work and don't work within modern fantasy. The main kind of criticism that they had was that nowadays fantasy tends to focus more on the psychology of the characters. So
Mm-hmm.
even villains have these very like rich and complex backstories, whereas older fantasy, you tend to have these pretty kind of archetypal characters. So you have the good and the bad,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no real motive for Sauron being bad, and there's no real motive for Gandalf being good.
Yeah.
And but what that does is create something quite mythological because it reminds us of the stories where we're sort of dealing with like gods, like the Greek myths, where like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no motivation for Zeus being a tyrant. Zeus is a tyrant because he can be a tyrant because
Yeah.
he's a king of the gods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like this really nicely straddles the line of being both like quite mythological in its like fantasy archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
but there is also like quite a lot of psychology to the characters. Like you get quite a lot of their interiority, and I think particularly in seeing all the sort of different factions of the animals
Yes.
and how they all their individual dynamics as well. It does what classical fantasy does in like externalizing the internal problems of the characters. Um, but I still think there's like real depth to the characters, which I like really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Um, so like, so that was my kind of feeling, was like, this is so good in the genre. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this really exemplifies the genre for me.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, I think if you've read a lot of fantasy like already, this maybe doesn't feel like the most groundbreaking story. Like it kind of follows the beats of like it kind of hits the hero's journey, but I think like for the age that it's intended for, it's perfect.
Totally,
Like it is
totally.
such a good introduction to fantasy and like and also like, you know, that this type of fantasy kind of what we're talking, like it's almost Game of Thronesy type
Yeah,
um
Lord of the
because
Ringsy.
yeah, because like what you're saying, it's like the the villain is clear. So like you're not, and like they do a good job of like, you know, they give him some like he has his moments, but you're never like, gosh, I hope he's okay. Like he's the bad
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah. And then like you said, like they set up all the different factions super well. So like you get to like the world building is really strong in this, I think, and like you start to
Yeah,
understand the entire world around it. Um and yeah,
for
it's just
sure.
like such an enjoyable like sweet story. Also, the stakes are high, but not
Yeah.
crazy. But it's like people die.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm so struck by that, because I feel like, particularly in children's fantasy nowadays, there tends to be a bit of a steering away from like actually killing off
Yeah.
the beloved
Yes.
characters. Um, and they're not afraid to do that. And it's not just like the big deaths
No.
that have a lot of resonance. It's like people are just getting culled along the way, like left, right, and center. If someone trips, falls, and that's it for them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yeah,
it's
that's
wild.
I felt that way when uh that last scene, not last scene, but when they're trying to kill who do they accidentally kill?
The snake,
No, no, when they think that Clooney is in the tent and they accidentally kill is it
cheese
Cheese
thief.
Thief? Yeah.
Yeah,
That scene I was like, "Oh, I guess that's just the end for Cheese Thief." Like it was
right.
so just like, "Here we go."
Which is so wild, because if you think about like, again, that classic fantasy structure where you have like your final boss often, and then you have like mini bosses along the way.
Yeah.
The bad guy's second in command tends to be one of the later and more kind of dramatic deaths,
Yeah.
and typically will be taken out by the good guy's second in command. You know what I mean? Like everyone
Yeah.
kind of pairs off according to, no, Cheese Thief was just like collateral, which is, I really enjoyed that. And then also when they were trying to kill the snake, um, who is it that dies? Like she just sort of falls down a
Oh,
hole, and that
the shrew, right?
the shrew, she just like falls
Uh
down a hole, and they're like, oh damn, we should go after her. And then she's just dead and like bitten and poisoned. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, just done. And like also they described her body very like
Graphically.
yes, I was like, "Oh." And like I you know, it's good I guess like you set up the danger of Asmodeus, like he's very scary. But also yeah, they're just kill cuz I think same like I I feel like often we think of children's book as being very like oh everything's okay and like the stakes are like it's fine but like this one I was like oh because I remember even being younger and it was a big deal the fourth Harry Potter book was a big deal because Cedric
Cedric.
dies and everyone's like no one's ever died before and I like remember being like oh that's
Totally.
crazy but now reading Redwall I'm like I guess it's not crazy like they're
For
killing off
sure.
characters left and right so
Yeah. I think also like there's something about this final book that captures like the sort of chaos and melee of battle. Like you can just catch strays in an active war situation, and like
yeah
that's really scary.
yeah
Um, so I thought that was really, yeah, I was just, it just does the genre well.
it
You
does
know, it
yes
just
yeah
does
I
the
think it's a
genre
really
well.
solid like this is what you can expect from this like
Yeah,
type of book and I imagine like there's so many in the series that it's probably really satisfying to get the full world building because it like after this one
totally.
he goes back and writes a bunch of prequels and then there's like sequels and it's fun um yeah Elaine said oh yeah such easy reading and intro to general plot arcs and
Yeah.
then oh interesting Emily said, in my children's writing class, they told us to use animals as characters because they help children feel connected through their vulnerability. But then this book just murders them left and right. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. But yeah, overall, also like I like that everybody gets their chance to be the hero. Like obviously, you have our overall hero, but everyone has their little moments throughout this, which I think is really nice.
Totally. Yeah.
Um,
Shall we get into like the detail
yeah, let's do it.
of the
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing?
I'll pull up my notes.
So we start with Cheese Thief being kind of big for his boots.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it chapter 1 when we have the hornet's nest?
Yeah, I
Is that the
think it
big
gets like
yeah?
right into that. Yeah.
That is what that kind of it starts with that
Yeah.
image of the hornet's nest being thrown. And then we see like I guess a kind of Chekhov's gun with Constance being like, huh, a giant crossbow. What might I do with that? Um I mean Constance, like
Yeah. She's
just
the
my
best.
girl.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like that I guess that's a good thing. If Constance would have died,
Yeah.
can you imagine?
I think I'd be raging.
I'd be
I'd be
raging.
so
Yeah.
it also just wouldn't you need like she's so like steady and stalwart and you need
Yeah.
her to like lead you need her to be there in the rebuilding, you know what I mean? Like I feel like with someone like with a character like Constance, she reminds me she's like that kind of Hagrid McGonagall
Yeah.
hybrid, you know what I mean? Like you need her to be someone that can be relied upon when in the aftermath everyone's like figuring out what the new world order
Yeah.
looks like, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and then because this I think fits. Emily said, I really love the juxtaposition between the Redwall movement, where almost everyone had a part to play in winning, versus the rat mob who was so incompetent and had no character growth. Like I think that's
Totally.
also like the same with that Hornets moment where it's like the rats are kind of finally cooperating, and then immediately it falls apart because
Immediately down into
yeah,
chaos.
yeah,
Yeah. It's interesting that the Hornets, just in terms of looking at the world, like animals are animals, but bugs are still bugs. Like
yeah,
animals are anthropomorphic, but
yeah.
insects
They have to
aren't.
pick. Yeah.
Insects are still insects. Like, you know what I mean?
They got to
That's
draw
like
the
just
line somewhere, I guess.
for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. But yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it gets complicated at a certain point. We're like, okay, then what's a plant then? Is a plant a pet?
For sure. Bacteria.
Yeah.
What's a bacteria?
Oh God. Yeah, we had I can't remember if they're next, but I love the gorilla shrews. I think they're so fun.
So fun. I was thinking a bit about like if you were in the Redwall movement, where would you be? Like, what animal would you be? Who would you be? And I was like, I'd so be one of the shrews because the shrews reminded me so much of student activism, like the desperation to be democratic. Like, we must be democratic.
Yes.
All of our processes must be absolutely fair. We have to vote on absolutely everything. We have like a million subsections for every sit-in, protest, march.
Yes.
But the infighting as a result of that,
yes,
just like occasionally means that you're not the most efficient.
Yeah.
And it reminded me just so much of being like an angry teenager at university.
Yeah. Like they have the vibe where like I'm sure they take attendance before every meeting, but like nobody really knows
100%.
why. Like
Yeah.
no, it doesn't actually matter who was there.
For sure. It's giving we need a meeting to discuss what we're going to be discussing in the next meeting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I loved them though. I thought they were great. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then can we talk about Julian?
Yeah. Yeah, we can. Do you mean the squire?
The cat, yeah, the squire.
Such a very, to me, like in my mind, that cat is Matt Berry.
Is who?
Matt Berry.
Who's Matt?
Gotta know Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows, the show, and
oh
he's
yeah,
he's
wait,
one of your people. He's a Brit.
he's one of our yes, Yes,
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, interesting. So to me, the cat was Jack Black, but like such a similar energy.
Truly, yeah, both kind of like round faces.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and like kind of camp, but in
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
self-aware camp. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's so funny.
Yeah. Maybe Matt Berry is the British Jack Black.
I was
Maybe
just
that's
thinking
what's
that.
right.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
If you could
totally.
make
Like,
Jack Black a little bit more like sophisticated in
sure,
vibe, but yeah.
sure. Yeah,
That's very funny.
yeah.
But I loved that. I love that cat. I love that the cat with his fancy diet. Like,
Totally.
oh,
Just like not doesn't eat red meat, thinks
yeah.
it's disgusting, doesn't know whether like, oh, you never know where mice have been. Ew, like
Yeah.
so
When
unhygienic.
yeah. Like just being so mad at this mouse for like being in his mouth.
Yeah,
I loved. Just being like,
so
ugh.
good. So
Um
good.
and I loved the relationship with Captain Snow. I thought was very fun. They're kind of like, if he apologized to me, then maybe we can live in the barn again. But
Yeah.
not until then.
For me, they were very Frog and Toad are friends coded. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what? Yeah, like they're a couple. No, they're a
They
couple
have
who
to
are
be. I
arguing.
literally in my brain was referring to them as like, oh, I love the gay bird and cat. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
love them.
I want a gay bird and cat spin-off is what I want. Like that
Just like
might be
I
the
love,
one spin-off we've not had.
honestly, like I love an old grumpy gay couple.
Oh,
So
so much. So much. Yeah. That's absolutely what it was for me.
yeah.
Um and then yeah, we have all the arguing with the shrews at that point
Yes.
because the shrews kind of just again, this is what I mean. Like they get so into their infighting and then they leave out like vital information.
Well, because like by that, there's that point where Matthias is like so mad at them. He's like, "Are you gonna help me or not? I just did all this shit for you." Are
And then they're like, well, according to subsection C of our, you know what I mean? Like,
they're also a bit like a more like brute version of the elves and Hilda that just love
yes,
paperwork. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
well, we can't.
That's,
I'm sorry. I
that's
just can't
so
do it.
accurate.
Um, but that moment I thought was when he is mad at them a little bit. I was like, I mean, Matthias, chill. Like you can't be that mad at them. They're being diligent.
Yeah,
They're trying their best.
they are. And you know, in fairness, they can't go into that territory. Like,
Yeah.
they're just trying to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, I only said I love when Matthias just straight up cold shoulder silent treatments them until they apologize. It was so extra. Exactly. I
But
was like, who
it's
is
so
this?
extra.
Yeah.
He's so sassy. Like it's him like pretending to be asleep. Like they're there like cooking breakfast, and he's just like not even gonna look at you. Like
I don't care. Also the name Logalog.
so funny.
It was so funny, and that was one of the things I had to check because like on the audiobook I was like, wait, what is his name? Like
I was literally saying, I was like, what is he saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, glugga glug, glugga lug,
Yeah.
lugga glug. What is happening?
Yeah. And like they give backstory, but I was still like, so wait, he had a log, and so his name's Logalog? What is it? What are you talking about? And again, I think I like about this book is there's no standard for names in it. Like
Yeah,
they're either like Matthias and Methuselah or just like cheese thief. Like
totally.
there's no. Some people have silly names and some people have like mythical names.
Yeah,
As
for
Modius.
sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Are there any? I mean, yeah. What's the mole called again? Does he have a silly name?
Which?
The lead
Oh
mole.
yeah.
Formole. What's
Yes.
Formole called? Does he have a name or is he just called Formole?
That's a great question. I can look in the book unless someone in the chat remembers before this, but
Emily says Emily says I pictured a disgruntled Hugh Grant.
oh,
I'm assuming that's as Julian the Cat. That's really good.
It's really
Hugh
good.
Grant as Julian the Cat is also. Queen Warbeak is a slay. I so agree.
So good.
So good.
I love the moment also when the sparrows come and they're like, those gross sparrows are coming. And he's like, they're my friends. I speak sparrow. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Totally.
I can't wait.
Alliances. Matthias is so good at alliances.
Yes.
And it truly, like, that for me is a kind of resounding theme of the story, which is like, you know, we can't defend we all share this home.
Yeah.
We are all gonna suffer under this oppressor. So comrades,
Come
let
together.
us stand together in solidarity.
My favorite moment in any like sort of action thing is when it's when everybody like comes together at the last moment to save the day. So like in this it's like when the sparrows and the shrews all show up to help. But like, you know, in Lord of the Rings, it's when Aragorn shows up with the Ghost Army.
So good.
And then in like, you know, it happens in like every superhero movie, but like when the Avengers all assemble, like I get so, I know it's coming. It's a pretty common trope, but every time I'm like, yes.
I get chills, like in the Battle of Hogwarts in book 7, where everyone starts arriving to the room of requirement. I was like sobbing reading that.
Yes.
You know?
It's my favorite feeling of just like, yeah, I know it's coming, but like, I love it. And because it's
why like a genre that relies heavily on tropes relies heavily on those tropes for a reason. It's because they work. It's because the people want to see it.
And I think what you're saying, it's like part of the reason that you're, you know, the character that you're rooting for is so good is because of like they've created friendships and alliances, and it's like, oh, you spread like good throughout, and like it shows.
Totally.
And it feels so nice.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that makes a hero in fantasy a hero is even when it would be easier to be like cynical and bitter and annoyed, they continually choose to be hopeful. I was reading something the other day about hope being a discipline, and I think that's the discipline of heroism, is continuing to hope even when it's like you keep getting nearly killed.
Yeah, and I was honestly so mad that he kept being gone while Clooney was attacking Redwall. Like, he's supposed to be the warrior, but then seeing how he united the whole kingdom in the meantime, amazing. Yeah, it does feel like there's a moment where like things are going bad at Redwall, and I remember being like, who cares about this sword? Like,
yeah, I know.
Go fight. Which is interesting. What I like was interesting though is like that's not even how he ends up killing Clooney. Which is such a it's fun. It's like, you know, a good little switcheroo on your expectations, but still I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention was I think a thing I love about this book is how often the Redwall characters celebrate something with a snack. Like they think of a good idea and they're like, well, let's go have a snack. That was good. That was really good. And they're like supposed to be like guarding a wall. They'll be like, we're on guard. They're like, well, hold on. Let's go get a snack though.
We solved it. Vegetable soup.
Yeah, it's so like the way that I have to like.
Me too.
Right. Too. Like I have to trick myself. I'm like, well, I cleaned this room. Time for little. I get a treat now.
A little treat. We just love a little treat.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a little treat?
Elaine said the real sword was the friends he made along the way. That's exactly it.
A thing that I thought was really interesting is so Cheese Thief wearing Clooney's armor and then getting killed, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens in the Trojan War. Like that's how Patroclus ends up dying, because he puts on Achilles' armor and then gets killed in his place.
That's true.
What I found, and I'm so sure that oh my god, who wrote Redwall? Brian Jacques. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Brian. So sorry. I'm so sure Brian Jacques knows that. I was probably riffing on that. What is so funny to me is that, like, obviously in the Iliad, Patroclus dies and Achilles dead, and Achilles is like mad with grief and goes into battle and kills a bunch of people, and then eventually ends up getting killed himself, but like kind of doesn't care because the loss of his love, Patroclus, is just like so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Our boy Clooney is like, I can use this to my advantage. Like, doesn't care at all.
Not at all.
It's like, yeah, he may have been like my most loyal rat dude, but Screw that guy.
I don't need him. Also, is that how you say it? Is it just Jacques?
I thought it was Jacques.
I believe you. I don't know anything about French, so
Yeah, or like Jacques would have been the
right,
French,
right.
but
Because
maybe it's Jacques, because some people say that it depends.
because
on who
my
you
brain has
are.
been saying Jacques, but that's nothing. Like,
Well, okay, so in old,
ooh,
if you permit me a brief
please.
etymology lesson,
Thank you.
in Old English, the name that is spelt that way is pronounced Jacques, like in Shakespeare's As You Like It, which is just like
Yeah.
it came from the French, and then
So you're
that
saying I'm
pronunciation
not an
stuck.
idiot?
So you're not an idiot at all.
That's
No.
good.
And I think you might be right. Maybe it is
No idea.
Jacques or something, because Brian is English, I
Yeah,
think.
that's true.
So
Yeah, I think
that
so
would
too.
make sense. But I don't know.
Probably does.
We have to ask him.
Brian. I think
Brian, if you're out there.
didn't he die?
I thought yeah, maybe the ghost of Brian.
Ghost of Brian. Brian. A ghost named Brian is a little bit funny.
Yeah, it's a
Sorry,
vibe.
Brian, but like the idea of being like, oh, there's a ghost. I was like, what's up? I'm Brian. I've been kind of haunting your mansion for a little bit. I'm like, Brian, you gotta go.
Could you or just make less noise? Like, it's okay if you're here. Just
sorry, I've been practicing bongos.
So another thing I thought was hilarious was Asmodeus whispering his own name in his sleep.
Asmodeus, I'm just gonna say it, little self-obsessed.
Yeah, right. Like, imagine if I just was like in like Ella, like it's like if you're like what?
Alexis.
Imagine
sleeping. Yeah. Yeah.
But slay, I guess.
Yeah, I guess like he's just powerful, and maybe it's a sign that he's lonely. He doesn't have anyone else's name to say.
Because he keeps eating everybody that tries to be friends with him.
Yeah. Like, where's his little Asmodeus wife? His little Asmode. I was trying to think of a female version of that name, but it's kind of already female sounding.
It is quite, Asmodeus too.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have a little wife at home though. He's alone.
Yeah. And maybe he is lonely. I think he's just hungry and preoccupied with feeding himself, to be honest. But and then what else did I want to ask you?
Let's see.
Oh, okay, so Clooney kind of loses it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? What do we think? What is it? What pushes him over the edge?
Are you talking? Okay, when you say loses it, which moment are you talking about? Like when he's when
I mean, in general, to be honest, like that, like there's a general decline into.
Like when Matthias returns, would you say?
No, yeah, but even before then, there's like a moment when he. Which chapter is it? I think it's chapter 7, maybe, of this book, where he's like kind of out of it and is like thinking about everyone that dies and that's died, and is like, and the generals are like, oh, the boss has lost it. We just have to kind of keep going.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
You
Clooney was
know?
acting strangely. Well, I think part of that is, I think it's the those dreams he's been having of Martin the Warrior start to really catch up to him, and I think it's that like I think he starts to recognize that like that is his fate.
To die.
Yeah, to die by like this mouse warrior's hand. And as much as he keeps pushing it away and being like, no, I think like the dreams start to get to him. I
think you're right.
Yeah. Elaine said those repeated nightmares of the warrior would definitely wear on a creature.
For sure.
And
then it's like, how do you keep? He's in so far. Like it's very Macbeth. It's very Shakespearean. Yeah. Like he's too far in now to be like, okay, I take it back. I'm cracking up. Let's press pause. Like he can't do that now, so he has to keep going.
Yeah.
But he must have a sense of the conclusion being foregone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think it's like he knows he can't. Like basically, it's like he can't retreat, but he's not gonna win. So like he's sort of coming to grips with his own, you know, mortality. I
Impending
guess.
demise. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
totally.
yeah, but yeah, he does kind of start to slip.
Yeah, but this is what I mean about that balance of like the mythology, like dreams and prophecy and
Mm-hmm.
history repeating itself, feeling very like classic high fantasy, but then really getting this sense of like Clooney's interiority and like not guilt, but
Yeah.
just I don't know, the idea that you can be the hardest, most vicious, bloodthirsty, immoral creature,
Yeah.
and killing over and over again is still going to have some kind of impact on your psyche, you know?
Yes. Oh, I remember what I was gonna talk about. One of the things was just I was so scared for Basil Staghair.
Right?
I was like, God, what are they doing to him?
I know.
Like I,
Everyone really like everyone gets beaten up severely.
yeah,
Like
yeah, and I really thought they might kill him in a way that I was like, no, they wouldn't, right? Like they
totally, yeah.
might. Um,
I was worried about that too because I was like, has Captain Snow the Owl been set up as a kind of like Basil's gonna d- Basil
yeah,
is gonna die.
that's funny.
Basil's gonna die, and then Captain Snow becomes like his proxy. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, is that why they brought in this other comrade?
Yeah,
Because Basil dies, and then Captain Snow comes in and is like, I will take up the mantle of blah blah blah. Luckily not, but I
yeah,
had that thought as well. I was
yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
not our guy. We love him.
Yeah, and I said Basil was my favorite character in terms of entertaining, and I was ready to throw hands if he died. Like, there's certain characters that you're like, that's too far, though. I'm okay with
Yeah,
certain characters die,
totally.
but you can't. Also, I'm realizing now, I think of Basil as a name, but basil is still the herb or herb to me. That's
Interesting.
how I.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You distinct. That's your
Yeah.
distinction.
Yeah. Because I'm like, well, you couldn't name something basil. But
Me probably.
now I'll know.
I think that's also just because Americans would never call someone Basil.
Yeah.
Like that's just like I mean I'm sure there are American Basils, but I'm also
It's,
equally sure that they're few and far between.
yeah, I've never met one.
Whereas Basil's not that uncommon a
Yeah.
name here.
I like basil, but the thing is, your whole life people would be like, hey, basil. And you'd be like, it's basil.
Yeah.
And, like, you know.
Did you guys have Basil Brush? No, is that not a thing in the US?
What is
No.
it?
Basil Brush was a Saturday morning kids TV show about a anthropomorphic fox,
Oh.
and it was like a what's it called when it's like a puppet. Like he was like there was like a person's
Like a hand puppet?
hand. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. But he was very like he was quite posh and very camp
Of
and
course he
flamboyant
was.
and hilarious.
I
Yeah,
mean,
of course, he's called
basil.
Basil Brush.
Yeah.
But he was great. Like I absolutely loved Basil. He I mean, I think Basil Brush came off the TV when I was maybe in my teens.
This guy's funny.
But he'd been on the TV for like 50 years.
I'm sorry.
You know?
This is Paul F. Tompkins. Right? Like, this is literally Paul F. Tompkins. Oh my god, this one too.
I,
Wow.
yeah, that's actually spot on. Oh
I'm
my
gonna
god.
message him, let him know that his identity.
He's Basil
is-
Brush.
Yeah.
I mean, Basil Brush is an icon. So,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know.
yeah.
But yeah, he was Basil
What
Brush.
did Emily say? My first cat was named Caramel, and I purposely only called the food caramel, and then caramel wasn't it. Yeah, 100%. Which one do you say?
Caramel.
Caramel. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that how it's spelled?
No,
Caramel. No.
I don't know.
Do you spell
I
it
said
with?
no
Do you not
with
have a second
confidence,
name?
but I actually have no idea.
It's like how you say aluminum, and it's like you're missing like several letters in that.
Aluminum. You add a
Aluminium.
bunch of letters.
Aluminium.
There's too many. We don't spell it that way. No, it's just aluminum. Oh yeah, it is caramel. Um, yeah, I have a weird that one. Like, I feel like I just learned it both ways, like caramel or caramel, and I feel like it just depends on the context of the treat. Where I'm like, some things are like,
What's an apple covered in?
that's a caramel apple. That's what's
Ah,
funny. Isn't that weird? Yeah,
interesting.
that's the one I thought of. I was like, no, it's like not always, but like certain things. Like, I think if it's fancier, it becomes caramel. If it's like a fancy treat, I'm like, ooh, caramel.
That's
But if
so
it's just
funny.
it's just a caramel apple. Like, we're
That's
not
so
we're not going
funny.
crazy. Also, I'm
Yeah.
having a Halloween party this year, and I decided to do a like caramel apple uh uh like dipping bar basically.
Oh
Like,
my God,
yeah,
amazing.
I'm really excited about it.
That's really good.
Yeah, like a fondue pot, but instead of
What
cheese,
are you
it's.
gonna be for Halloween this year?
I think that. Okay, you're getting the sneak preview, but I think what we're gonna do is be different types of witches familiars. So like,
That's
I'm
really
gonna be a
good.
frog. I think Grant's gonna be a raven, and then the boys are gonna be like bats or rats or something, or one of them will probably be the witch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really
So
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what
I
you're
think
gonna
I
be?
want to be a bat. That's what I'm
Really?
thinking. Yeah.
Well, so then
Yeah.
you're on theme.
Yeah, totally. Like I love it.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I'm just really feeling bat this year.
I
So
like that from a distance. We're still
we're
doing
still
a
connected
we're
in
doing a
our
duo
Halloween
costume.
themes for sure.
um,
Um,
what else?
so I mean there are no bats in this, are there?
Not yet. Maybe
Yeah,
later.
that's true.
Oh yeah, we were gonna. I want to talk about Cornflower's kind of arc.
Yeah, her little moment.
Yeah, when she sets that fire, and everybody's kind of like, we really shouldn't do fire stuff, but that was good. Like, I thought that was a very funny, like, whoa, even the rats know, like, we don't really do fire because then everyone could just die.
Yeah, totally.
But it was like a panic moment.
It gets out of control way too quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
And also, yeah, Elaine
whoa.
and Emily, what are you guys being for Halloween? Please let us know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I felt also the same way about when was it? I think it was a little bit later
Mm.
uh when they destroy the tunnel and so the tunnel gets
Yeah.
sealed and then all of the rats like die in the tunnel. I don't know. It's quite a dark way to go, is
Oh,
all I was
yeah.
thinking.
They
I
all
was like,
just,
oh
oop,
wow.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something also in cornflowers fire thing of like, the domestic? Like,
Oh, yeah.
even when she's saving the day, she's still kind of doing it by cooking.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, she's just using what she knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was weird though, because she like does a good thing, and I feel like she didn't really get the normal kind of thank you that they give.
No, she
They were kind
didn't.
of
It
like,
was it was gendered for sure because it was like, wow, the tiny little woman saved the day. Like, wow, cornflower the cook who can also be really brave. Like,
yeah,
you know,
it was just like, okay, cornflower, please, well, okay, good job, but can you get back to the kitchen? Was kind of the
yeah.
vibe. Okay, we're all
We would
getting
have,
a little peckish.
and we really, really like your vegetable soup. That's all we're saying. We're just saying you make a really good vegetable soup.
Maybe
Like,
stick to that. Less
yeah.
heroing. Let's leave that to your future husband, huh?
Yeah, I will come to that in a minute.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
will come to that
Yes,
in a minute.
yes.
Because
Oh
I
yeah.
actually
Okay,
have some.
wait. We got Halloween costume updates. Okay. Um, Emily's being Krobus from Stardew Valley, and okay, cute. Everyone's being Stardew Valley characters, and then Elaine is being a miner for Halloween. I audit a
Like,
mine
what?
for my job, so it felt fitting.
That's so funny. What kind of a miner? Like, are you going to be like, how? I'm so curious about how a Halloween miner
I think
outfit looks.
okay.
Like,
I'm
are you a
guessing it'd be
ghost?
like kind of a
Is it
jumpsuit or
like a haunt?
overalls with a pickaxe.
Sure. Is it like a haunted mine?
Oh, that's true. Is it a haunted
Like
miner?
a ghost?
Yeah.
A ghosty mine? Or is it just what is truly scary is the working conditions of
Strip mining. You're gonna be
yeah.
the. Oh yeah, back to quote. Sorry, we're jumping around a lot. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, right. Yes, Emily. Exactly. Right. Shall we just talk about this? Shall we just
Yeah,
talk
yeah, yeah, yeah,
about this?
yeah.
We're gonna
Okay.
skip ahead.
Yeah.
So Abbott Mortimer is dying.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very sad. Great death, by the way, though.
Yes.
Like
Really
such
good.
a good death. Like I love that kind of thing in fantasy where someone is killed but is able to hold on until the perfect moment after battle where we really get to like
Yeah.
sit with the gravity of their loss.
Totally.
That's very enjoyable.
Yes.
So he gets really good final words. And like his speech where he's like, life is good. And I was like, oh, wiping a
It
wee
was
tear.
really good.
However,
Mm-hmm.
at no point did Matthias propose. And at no point did Cornflower say she wanted to get married.
No. In fact, they really haven't even been on a date.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they actually don't know each other that well.
No. Like, it was a weird suddenly we're doing kind of arranged marriages in this world.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like I don't know, it's giving like that kind of twisty thing grandparents do where they're like I just hope you get married and have babies before I die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the guilt thing that they do that you can't say no to, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and we also said in fact they are children. Like these are they're young. Let them date around a little bit, okay?
Like let them play the field,
Yeah.
literally. They
They're
live in a field. Like let
exactly.
them enjoy the
It's
field.
a bit soon. Like especially kind of like with Cornflower's arc, I don't know, it was a little bit like, okay, we know she's got, gorgeous eyelashes or whatever, and she cooks good. Um but like let her character develop, and yeah, even when she does a good job, everyone's like, okay, Cornflower, too much. Um and then here, go ahead and get married. Like,
Yeah, I know.
what does she want? No one's ever asked her.
Totally agree.
What if
For sure.
she's gay?
In it?
Hmm?
What if?
Hmm? So
And I feel like that's I mean, this is the thing with like the dying wish thing, is that like
yes.
a dying person like foists their wishes upon the collective. And then those people can never say no. Because you can't say no to a dying person,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what if the other, what's his name? The other Friar
Oh yeah.
Alf? What if Friar Alf doesn't want to be Abbot?
That's true.
What if Friar Alf never wanted a promotion? He was very happy with his level of responsibility.
Yeah. He's like, I'd actually prefer to stay friar. It's
Yeah.
also, I think, frustrating that even in this fantasy world, and this is like not just a Redwall problem, but in general, you have women doing unappreciated reproductive work. They're always cleaning, they're always doing the cooking, they're like, it exists in our modern world and it exists in these books, and it's always just like, why is that? It's always the heroes that are so praised, but it's like, why is that work still lesser? Because
Yeah.
it's women's work, and it's frustrating.
It is. And it's the thing that has always, my main gripe with fantasy has always been that we have amazingly imaginative writers that conceive of these incredible worlds, languages, creatures, social dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
but can't seem to write a way out of like the very like capitalist heteronormative
Yeah.
gender binaries that exist in our world. And I'm like, how have you got like Clooney the Scourge whipping his poisonous whiptail,
Yes.
and yet it's still cornflower making the vegetable soup? You
Yes.
know, like
Yes. Like, whoa, imagine this. One of the friars is actually the one that cooks the soup.
right.
Is that too crazy?
And it's great that we have Constance, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
But
There are
it's
good.
still
I mean, I'll give it that. There are strong female characters. It's not like every female in this. In fact, Jess the Squirrel is awesome.
a badass.
Like,
Yeah. So
and
is
she's
Queen
a mother.
Warbeak.
Like, yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we've got Queen Warbeak. Yeah, I just think it's telling that like even though we have strong female characters, the roles still exist.
Yes.
The structures
And
still exist.
I guess a little bit that it's like, and of course that's the one that Matthias ends up with.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Oh, wouldn't he want, maybe a fellow adventurer?
Yeah. No,
No.
because he needs somebody to cook and clean while he is off saving
Ugh.
people. I know, right? Could never be me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Emily said. And the women in this book that are so empowering, they're feisty, masculine, actiony types, Constance and Warby, which would be fine if they were more balanced with some strong feminine characters. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
there's still some, it's funny. It's the 80s, but
totally. Yeah, it is of its time. But it just makes me aware of like the thing that I really enjoy in a lot of modern fantasy is the strong female characters that are still kind of feminine and soft
mhm.
and that have that duality and that nuance. Like you can be both like vulnerable while also being like brave and daring. And like those two
Yes.
things can coexist and one doesn't have to mutually exclude the other.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah.
it's just interesting also using this book as a marker of like where the genre has gone in the last 40
Definitely.
years.
Definitely. Because I do think
40
this is like
years,
this
wild.
is shifting in modern fantasy, but
For sure. I always think about like Yennefer of Vengerberg in Witcher. Have you watched The Witcher? Have you read The
yes,
Witcher?
yes, yes.
Yeah, so Yennefer is, I think, such a good example of like she is very feminine, she is
Mhm.
very soft, she's quite vain as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Like her whole
Yeah.
but she's also like terrifying.
Yeah.
And I just, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? That's something I really enjoy.
That show does the thing where like I think Yennefer is such a bad fantasy name. Like I'm always like
What, because it's just
it's
Jennifer
just
with a
Jennifer with a
Y?
Y. Like I anytime that happens, like I get it to an extent, but sometimes I'm like, come on though. Like
Yeah. In Game of Thrones, obviously you've got like Rhaenyra,
yeah.
Rhaenys, etc. And then their mum is just called Emma with an A. And I just think that's so funny.
Exactly. The one that has always driven me the most crazy was I don't know if you ever read Stardust.
Yes. Terry
Tristram.
Pratchett.
No, Neil Gaiman, but
Neil Gaiman,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
But
yes, yeah.
same guy. But yeah, Tristan is the main character
Tristan,
instead
yeah.
of Tristan. Like it feels the mouth feel is bad on that
Too
name.
many
Too
R's.
many R's, and I was like, come on, you're so creative. You write such fun books, and that's what you went with,
I
Tristram.
know. Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah. Totally. And I loved that book as well.
Me
Like
too.
the whole concept of the wall, I thought was
Yes, I really like that. The movie's
such a
fun, but the book's really
The
good.
movies, the movies. So we actually watched it not that long ago because
Yeah.
Michael had never seen it, and I was like, "Oh, I need you to see this because it's so of its time.
Yes.
Like it's such noughties fantasy, like in
Yes.
such a specific way." And we thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, Robert De Niro
Yes.
playing the gay pirate. Like,
Yeah, there's some fun little like casting in it.
yeah, there are issues there, but equally, maybe my favorite character of his ever.
So good, honestly.
Like giving Tristram extensions. Like I don't,
Yes. Ugh.
you know,
And then like, cause that's the one
can't
where
beat
at
that.
first you think the crew's gonna revolt, and then they're like, "We love him. He's our
Yeah.
captain, right?"
Yeah. They're just like, we know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's what it was.
like, we don't care.
Maybe I'll rewatch that. It's a little Halloweeny, right?
Yeah, it is. All the witches and the
Yeah,
magic
yeah.
and the cutting out of hearts.
Great.
Definitely.
I watched
Definitely.
Practical Magic last night, so I'm on a.
Oh, I
It's
watched it
best.
last week.
Did you?
So good.
It's so good. Grant had never seen it, and so it was a fun.
It's the best.
He was like, right before we started, he was like, "What is it like a rom com?" And I was like, "No, not like it's not that funny, but it's also like, but it's not like a drama." And like
Yeah.
I actually really realized I was like, it's actually a really hard. It's sort of like an indie is the vibe. Like it's just
Yeah.
but
Totally.
it's I don't know. And I was like, what a strange like. There are not that many things that to me feel whatever that genre is.
I so agree with you. Yeah. I feel like there's a very specific like slice of witchy film
Mm-hmm.
that really doesn't conform to a particular genre at all. That's one. The Witches of Eastwick is also another one that's like
Yes.
kind of funny, but also kind of dark and
Yeah.
like isn't really a drama and isn't really a comedy. It's just vibes. It's just vibes.
Yes. Yeah. And we said Practical Magic is a women's movie, and I love it for that. It really is.
I watched it with my girlfriends. We had a hoa 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 night, which I've hoa 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 season, hoa 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 evening. We ate cinnamon flavored everything
Yes.
and lots of beige food. And yeah, one of my best mates was like, I love the way in this film there are 3 men and most of them die.
Yes, they mostly die, and like I
They
love,
mostly die.
like it's not a man that comes back. He doesn't come back to save them. It's like they have to call in all the women in the town, and they have the fun moment where like also I love the development of like the moment they call and they're like, "Come help us do witch stuff." They're like, "Okay, cool." Like they
Yeah,
only hated them
totally.
because they were jealous, and then when they get
Totally.
included, they're like, "Okay, I've always wanted to come in your house." Like
Yeah.
fine, and I think it's great.
I love it. I loved that so much as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, we were just jealous that you had magic and now you've included us. We love you.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, so good.
And a little bit, I'm like, duh. Like, I would also resent the town witches if I wasn't a witch.
I would too. I'd be like, teach me your ways.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Do you have more thoughts? Any more thoughts?
Let me check my things. Okay, we talked about the shrews, Log-a-log, Cornflower, Captain Snow, Basil, Squire Julian, Asmodeus, Constant Snacks. I wrote down Constant Snacks. I'm trying to think if there's any overall. I mean, again, I do think it's a really fun book, and it's the kind of thing like I like a book that I can imagine like an entire family reading together. I think that's sweet about it. It's got a good like something for everyone type of book.
For sure.
And I think it definitely starts off slower, but it really picks up. Like,
yeah,
you're really in it. Because I think it took me longer than normal to get into, because there's a lot of setup and a lot of like, I don't. It gets into it, but it's just different. Like I don't know how to explain it. But I wasn't as like sucked in initially, but then by the end I was like, whoa, what's going on? So
yeah,
it definitely builds a lot. I don't know. Do you have any other...
I mean, the thought that I had was like, I don't know how I feel about the sword being called Rat Death.
I forgot about that.
Because it just feels a little bit deterministic. Like not all rats are the same. What if in a couple of years there's a rat that's like, I'm not like the other rats.
Yeah.
I want to be chill with you guys. I want to join the brotherhood or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we have to hope that not all the rats share Clooney's ideology.
Yeah. Emily said, I love Matthias's growth. He was so bumbling and meek in the beginning and kept tripping over his poor feet, and by the end he defended the lives of the others. That is true.
It's so true.
Would have loved, though, at the very end, like I would have loved one last little sandal stumble from Matthias. I really think that would have been wonderful. If just like,
does he get shoes that fit, or does he not, and he just gets used to having shoes? Maybe he just grows into them.
Maybe he grows into them.
That's a metaphor.
Oh wow, he grows into his shoes.
Profound.
Wow. Yeah, rat death isn't my favorite thing, though. You're right, because also, especially in this world where it's like rats aren't that much different from mice, and
totally
they can fit in here if badgers are here, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm here. I wonder if in the sequels and stuff, if that ever happens. Like, I could see that.
I could see it too. What did you think of? Is it like Matameo?
Oh, the long kid, the name. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah,
especially
hilarious.
in the audiobook, hearing the guy say it, I thought it was I was like, what a mouthful of a name.
I know, right?
Matt. Okay, here we go. Aha. Okay. Okay. Matameo, which is already very long for a name. Matthias Methuselah Mortimer.
So good though.
Yeah, Matthias Methuselah. It's just
all the M's.
A lot of the same in my brain. I'm like, yeah, it's the same name 3 times. I don't know how to explain it.
Matthias Methuselah Mortimer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of MT sounds, like Matameo Matthias Mortimer. You know what I mean?
Elaine said Matameo has Renesmee vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I think that's actually the bump where it's like, oh, almost a name.
Yeah. Is it a name? I'm sure it must be a name. Matameo.
Well, Mateo is a name.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But I don't think I've never heard.
I'm surprised it wasn't. I'm surprised Martin didn't feature in there.
Same, but I guess, you know, that's kind of
Matameo name. Nope, literally just the name of a character in the Redwall series.
Wow.
Literally just that.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
And also, again, no reference of cornflower in the name. The women just get forgotten, but okay.
I know.
Okay. We'll work on it, Brian.
Though in fairness, like, what are you gonna? Would they like?
They could
You know,
hyphen the
would
last
it
name.
would it be Matthias Methuselah like
Cornflower.
cornflower?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's beautiful.
I quite like the idea of giving, you know, a warrior's son um like a quite a feminine, because like
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Mary Plunkett
Mm-hmm.
was an Irish like Republican, and he was like one of the leaders of the Easter Rising and a revolutionary, and his name was Joseph Mary.
That's great.
Isn't it
Yeah,
so sick?
it's really
Joseph
good.
Mary.
Yeah,
That's
Emily just
such a
said
cool name.
if their next kid isn't Cornflower Constance Warbeak, like
Right?
exactly.
Ah,
Constance Beak.
snaps.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Also, Warbeak is so good. That's so good. Call
Warbeak
your
is
kid Constance Warbeak.
maybe I'll call my kid Constance Warbeak. I don't know. Naming a human child Warbeak is actually hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I think that was everything. I love a revolution.
Yeah.
I love a battle against. I love a big final battle, you know?
Yes. Yes. Everyone's coming together. It hit all the beats you want, I feel like.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you to everyone who's listened and read along. This has been very fun.
Yes.
I loved it.
What are we gonna do next? Are we gonna do another Redwall? Are we gonna do something else?
That's a great question.
We'll have to discuss. If you have any preferences, do let us know what you think we should read next. I feel like we should do something different. We could always circle back to Redwall, but I feel like there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my bookshelves like, what would be
what would fit? Yeah. I definitely have some stuff. I mean, there's also been books that have been like heavily recommended that I'm sort of like, oh, maybe now's the time to do it. Like
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe something with like fantasy animals.
Yeah. And then Emily just said, asked if there are any show movie adaptations, and I know that there are, and said that we should watch them on Discord. And that's a fun.
Oh, that'll be really fun. That we should absolutely do that. That's a good idea.
It's a good way to finish it all out. But yeah, we'll have to think of the next thing to read also. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye. Oh, I gotta find my. Okay. Goodbye.
See you later.